Some disappearances feel like they defy reality. When someone is seen alive on clear CCTV only moments before they vanish and never reappear, it leaves investigators, loved ones, and the public haunted by the same question. How can a person simply walk off camera and disappear from the world? This is the case of 20-year-old Annie Dryden, a quiet young woman from Middlesbrough, England, whose last recorded moments remain frozen in surveillance footage. The only clues in a mystery that has baffled authorities for years. It's January 4th, 2014, a cold winter afternoon. Annie arrives at James Cook train station, alone. Cameras catch her walking calmly across the platform. She isn't running. She isn't distressed. Nothing about her behavior seems unusual. At 2:09 p.m., Annie boards a train toward Whitby, a route that winds through remote countryside and small rural villages. This journey should have been normal, uneventful. But somewhere along the path, Annie makes a decision that would mark the last trace of her ever recorded. The next camera captures her at 2:38 p.m., stepping off the train at a tiny, isolated station called Battersby. She walks out of frame, and that's where the world loses her. No one saw where she went. No one knows why she chose that stop, and no one has seen her since. When she failed to return home, concern quickly turned to alarm. Police launched a massive search effort, helicopters scanning the rugged terrain of the North York Moors, mountain rescue teams combing trails and fields, officers moving house to house. The landscape around Battersby is wild, steep hills, dense woodland, lonely farmlands stretching for miles. If Annie had gone camping, as some feared, the terrain could be dangerous, even deadly. But search teams found nothing. No tent, no belongings, not a single footprint. Hikers and cyclists were urged to stay alert. Residents were asked to check barns, sheds, and outbuildings, places where someone could seek shelter. Again, no trace. Investigators then explored another possibility. A rumor surfaced, a social media post allegedly made by Annie, suggesting she thought about moving to a squat in London. But the post was never confirmed. Was it really Annie, or someone using her account? Despite thousands of hours spent searching, interviewing, and reviewing footage, there was nothing. Annie showed no sign of distress in either video. She traveled alone. She stepped off that train as if she knew exactly where she was going. And then, she simply disappeared into silence. Who was she planning to meet? Did she run away willingly? Did something happen to her in the remote countryside? Or did she leave that station and start a new life somewhere far away? Police issued appeals to every passenger who rode the train that day, hoping someone noticed which direction Annie walked after stepping off the platform. They received no useful information. Today, Annie Dryden is still missing. Slim build, 5 feet 10 inches, dark hair with a blonde fringe, a small scar above her upper lip. Last seen wearing a beige hat, headphones, a dark jacket, gray pants, and carrying a black and green backpack. A young woman seen alive on camera and gone moments later. No answers, no closure, just a cold, quiet mystery on a remote railway platform. If you have seen Annie or have any information about her whereabouts, authorities urge you to call 101 and reference case number 002768. Until then, we're left with one chilling truth. Some mysteries don't fade with time. They only deepen, especially the ones caught on camera. Some disappearances feel sudden, silent, and deeply wrong. A person seen alive just days earlier, then gone without a trace. No goodbyes, no final message, just silence. This is one of those haunting stories. On October 5th, 2023, 33-year-old Kathryn Ferguson vanished during a cross-country drive. She wasn't traveling alone. She had her 2 young children with her, and her ex-boyfriend, 26-year-old Adam Shane Aviles. The road ahead seemed like a fresh start, but it would instead become the last confirmed record of Kathryn's life. Kathryn had been in an on-and-off relationship with Adam for nearly 8 years. By the end, the relationship had become toxic, unstable, even frightening. She moved to Alabama, hoping to rebuild her life and put distance between herself and him. But time has a way of pulling people back. The kids began to miss their father, and in October, Kathryn reached out. She asked Adam to pick her and the children up so they could all travel back to Wyoming together. Whatever her reasons, hope, reconciliation, or simply wanting her kids to be happy, Kathryn got into that car. On October 5th, the small family stopped at a gas station in Truman, Arkansas. What happened next would become a crucial piece of evidence. A police officer, noticing the SUV doors open, approached to check on the situation. His body cam footage shows Kathryn sitting in the passenger seat of a black 1999 Dodge Durango. The door is open. She looks tired, uncertain, but calm. The officer begins asking routine questions: where they're headed, whether they have ID. Kathryn answers politely. She says she and Adam recently got back together, and they're going to Wyoming. But Adam? He's combative, irritated, questioning the officer's right to even ask for ID. His tone is aggressive, defensive, a stark contrast to Kathryn's quiet demeanor. To the officer, everything eventually appears calm enough. He returns to his patrol car. The encounter ends without incident. Kathryn is alive, sitting in the passenger seat. It is the last time she will be seen on camera. In the days that follow, the Dodge Durango is stopped 2 more times, on October 9th and October 11th. This time, Kathryn is not inside. Instead, a pile of clothes is slumped across the passenger seat. Officers later note something chilling: a bullet-sized hole in the door, covered hastily with duct tape. And again, no Kathryn. Weeks pass. No calls. No texts. Nothing. On November 2nd, Kathryn's mother contacts police, panicked. She hasn't heard from her daughter in almost a month. Something is terribly wrong. 3 days later, Adam's abandoned Durango is found in a remote area near Cody, Wyoming. It's been crudely covered in trash bags, as if someone hoped it wouldn't be noticed. Inside, officers find a disturbing scene: a strange smell, a loaded magazine, biological traces, cleaning wipes scattered around, and the passenger seat, the seat Kathryn once sat in, missing entirely. And Adam? Nowhere to be found. Soon after, he is arrested, not for Kathryn's disappearance, but for being a felon in possession of ammunition. Questioned about Kathryn, he tells authorities she simply left him and the kids somewhere near Little Rock, Arkansas, and never came back. No witnesses confirm his story. No evidence supports it. And Kathryn's children? They were with him the entire time he claimed she walked away. Today, Adam remains a suspect, but has not been charged in her disappearance. Kathryn has not been found. She is 5 feet 9 inches, 150 to 180 pounds, with brown hair, blue eyes, and a scar above her lip. In the final footage, she wears a peach-colored shirt. Her loved ones wait, hoping for answers, because somewhere along that long American road, somewhere between Alabama and Wyoming, Kathryn Ferguson vanished. Did she leave willingly? Did something go wrong in that car? Did fear finally catch up to her? 1 month, 3 stops, 1 missing mother, and a silence that grows heavier every day. If you have any information, contact the Park County Sheriff's Office at 307-527-8700, case number 23 to 972. Until Kathryn is found, this remains a mystery, one filled with heartbreaking questions, and a family still waiting for her to come home. It was early May 2022. Maui, Hawaii, the kind of place people imagine paradise to be. Warm ocean breeze, shimmering water, the sound of palm leaves brushing in the wind. But for one family, paradise was the last place their nightmare would begin. On May 7th, 41-year-old Kainalu Kai Higbee stopped by his mother's home. It was the day before Mother's Day, a simple, heartfelt visit. He gave his mom a hug, handed her his phone, and stepped outside. He never walked back through that door again. Hours passed. No texts, no calls, no return. First, nobody panicked. It was Kai. Strong, athletic, independent. Sometimes he needed a day or two to himself. But this time, days turned into silence. On May 12th, his wife, Samantha, reported him missing. That same day, officers found Kai's truck, a white Toyota Tacoma, parked at the Sunset Cafe on Front Street, near Lahaina Harbor. The truck wasn't just parked. It was abandoned, unlocked, keys nowhere in sight. And inside, sitting in the back seat, was his wallet, credit cards, ID, everything untouched. Anyone who knew Kai knew one thing. He loved that truck. He worked for it, took care of it, bragged about it. Leaving it behind made no sense. Leaving it unlocked? Even stranger. Leaving his wallet? That wasn't Kai at all. Yet there it sat. Like someone walked away suddenly, or worse, never walked away at all. There were no signs of struggle. No clues in the parking lot. No one at the restaurant remembered seeing him. And just like that, he was gone. Almost as if he'd vanished into the Hawaiian night air. His wife was terrified. Their 3 children waited for answers, especially their oldest son, who was days away from graduating high school. Kai talked about that graduation constantly. He was proud, emotional, excited. But May 19th arrived, and the seat meant for a proud father stayed empty. That was the moment everything shifted. Kai wasn't missing for a few days, he was gone. Samantha's desperation grew. She spoke publicly, pleading for help. She wasn't satisfied with the police response. She felt his past was clouding the urgency of the investigation. Yes, Kai had struggled with addiction in the past. Yes, he'd made mistakes, but he was recovering. He was rebuilding, and he would never abandon his family, not now. She described Kai as big-hearted, loyal, determined. He loved fiercely, especially his children. To vanish without a word? Impossible, she said. So the family took matters into their own hands. Flyers went up across Maui. Volunteers searched parks, beaches, back roads. Rumors swirled. Had he fallen? Been taken? Left voluntarily? But every theory collapsed under the same weight. His truck, his wallet, his kids, his unshakable love for them. And Maui is not a place where you simply disappear unnoticed. With tourists, cameras, locals everywhere. Someone should have seen something. Yet no one did. To make the mystery even more confusing, Kai had a brother who looked almost identical to him. A detail that led to false sightings and dead-end leads. Time passed. Days turned into weeks. The ocean waves kept rolling. Families kept vacationing. Life on Maui looked normal. But for the Higbees, nothing felt normal again. Police found no signs of foul play. No belongings scattered. No trail. No body. Just a man who seemed to walk off the edge of the world. Kai Higbee stands 6 feet tall, about 185 pounds, with brown hair and brown eyes. Tattoos cover his chest, arms, back, and legs. Traditional Hawaiian designs, meant to honor heritage and family. Across his stomach, one word is inked permanently. Sammy, his wife's name. Last seen wearing dark board shorts and a white shirt. Last seen alive, smiling with his mother. Last seen loving his family and planning for the future. And then, nothing. In a place known for beauty, a quiet emptiness lingers. An unanswered question hanging over Maui's beaches, whispered in the wind. Where did Kai go? Did someone harm him? Did he cross paths with the wrong person that night? Did he wander toward the water? Or did someone make sure he never came back? Or is the truth stranger, darker, something even those closest to him never expected? Mysteries don't always happen in forests or abandoned roads. Sometimes, they unfold under bright island sun. In a place where paradise suddenly feels like a trapdoor leading to nowhere. If you know anything at all, contact the Maui Police Department. Because somewhere, someone knows where Kai is. And a family who refuses to give up is still waiting for answers. Until then, his story remains one of Hawaii's most unsettling disappearances. A man who walked into the evening and never returned, leaving behind only questions and a silence louder than the ocean itself. Allahnia Lenoir was born in Chicago, Illinois, to Janet Jackson and Abraham Lenoir. In 2008, the family relocated to Atlanta, Georgia, first settling in the Sugar Hill area before later moving to Douglasville, the place where the 24-year-old would one day mysteriously vanish. She was known for her love of the outdoors and her growing passion for cooking. Her family describes her as a happy, talented young woman, fluent in Spanish, kind-hearted, and a natural caregiver. According to her mother, Janet, Allahnia was extremely close to her family and would never simply disappear without a word. It all began on the 30th of July, 2022. That morning, mother and daughter spoke on the phone, chatting about life and sharing TikTok videos as they often did. It was a normal, cheerful conversation. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Later that evening, around 8 p.m., surveillance footage captured Allahnia entering the 1660 Peachtree Midtown Apartments in Atlanta. She was accompanied by a female friend. The two were heading inside to hang out, meeting up with two men who lived in the complex. Hours later, around midnight, that same friend was seen on camera leaving the building, but Allahnia never appeared again. She was not seen exiting the apartment, and no more footage of her exists beyond that point. The next morning, Janet received a phone call asking if her daughter had come home. At first, she wasn't worried. Maybe Allahnia had stayed over somewhere or was spending time with a friend or her boyfriend, but that small sense of calm quickly faded. Texts started coming in from friends, asking where she was. They said she had missed plans and hadn't been answering her phone, something completely out of character for her. Janet tried calling and messaging, but every attempt failed. The messages wouldn't deliver, and when she checked the location, it still showed Peachtree Midtown Apartments. On August 1st, 2022, Allahnia was officially reported missing to the Atlanta Police Department. Her father, Abraham, immediately took action, hiring private investigator TJ Ward to assist the search. With detectives, forensic experts, and search dogs, they scoured the area in and around the apartment complex, but there was no trace of Allahnia anywhere. Authorities soon began to suspect that foul play may have been involved and that whatever happened took place inside that apartment. Their investigation led to the arrests of two men, Stephen Abwa and Deontay Reynolds, the same individuals she had gone there to meet that night. Later, a third suspect was also named, Nicholas Hendrickson. However, the evidence connecting these men to Allahnia's disappearance was challenged by an attorney who questioned its credibility. As a result, the case grew more complicated, and still no one could say for sure what really happened to her. To this day, the circumstances surrounding Allahnia Lenoir's disappearance remain a mystery. Her family continues their search, holding on to hope that answers will one day come. She's described as 5 feet 4 inches tall, weighing around 120 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. The last time she was seen, she was wearing a blue shirt, blue shorts, and cream-colored shoes. If you have any information about the disappearance of Allahnia Lenoir, you're urged to contact the Atlanta Police Department's Homicide or Adult Missing Persons Unit at 404-546-4235. Stephen Wayne Lount, a 53-year-old man from Lansing, North Carolina, vanished on August 10, 2025, and to this day his whereabouts remain unknown. A $5,500 reward is being offered for any information that could help solve his case, and investigators remain determined to bring answers to his loved ones. At the time of his disappearance, Stephen was living on the 200 block of Howell Road, the very place where he was last seen. According to witnesses, Stephen simply wandered away from the property one day and never came back. When he failed to return, those close to him grew worried and quickly contacted authorities to begin a search. What makes his disappearance even more troubling is Stephen's fragile condition. He had suffered a serious head injury, one that left lasting effects on both his judgment and his ability to find his way home. The injury also caused impaired speech, and according to his family, his cognitive abilities are diminished. Mentally, he still behaves like a child. His loved ones also revealed something important. Stephen might not respond to his full name. Instead, he usually answers only to Steve. They also believe he may have tried to make his way towards Sunset Beach, where he has family, a place that may have felt familiar or safe to him. The investigation officially began on August 11th, when the North Carolina Center for Missing Persons announced his disappearance publicly. They urged anyone living in the area to remain alert and report any sightings immediately. In the days that followed, extensive searches were launched across Silas Creek Road, North Fork New River, and the Lansing area. Search dogs, trained personnel, and boat teams were all called in to assist. Despite their tireless work, no trace of Stephen was found. Not a single clue that could reveal where he went or what happened to him. After nearly 600 hours of searching, the operation was officially suspended on August 16th. From that point on, investigators would have to rely on tips from the public to move the case forward. Authorities have since asked residents in the Sunset Beach area to review their home security footage, hoping someone might have captured even a glimpse of Stephen. So far, however, no new leads have surfaced. Because of his diminished mental capacity and medical condition, there are growing fears for Stephen's safety. Every passing day only adds to the urgency of finding him. If you have any information that could help investigators locate Stephen Wayne Lount, you're urged to contact the Ashe County Sheriff's Office at 336-846-5600. Stephen's official NamUs case number is MP149136. It's always cause for concern when someone vanishes after a vehicle collision, and for the family of 52-year-old Joseph Gagnon, that concern has turned into deep fear. Joseph disappeared under mysterious circumstances following a single car crash in Burlington, Vermont, on March 14, 2025. What makes his case so unsettling is that there were no other vehicles involved, and yet, after crashing through a fence, Joseph simply vanished. The accident happened around 7:45 a.m. near a bike path on Route 127. It was a serious crash. The vehicle rolled several times before coming to a stop, and investigators believe Joseph may have been injured, possibly sustaining a concussion or another head injury that could have impaired his judgment. There was another person in the car with him, but thankfully that passenger wasn't seriously hurt. However, what happened next left everyone puzzled. When the vehicle finally came to rest, Joseph got out and ran. Rather than wait for help or law enforcement to arrive, he fled the scene on foot and was never seen again. The passenger later told police that he and Joseph were supposed to meet again a few days later, but Joseph never showed up. He hasn't contacted any friends or family members since that morning. 3 days after the crash, Joseph's family filed a missing person report with the Burlington Police Department. They told investigators that it was completely out of character for him to disappear. Joseph always kept in close contact with loved ones. The silence was terrifying. Police immediately began searching the area around the crash site, but no signs of Joseph were found. The search then expanded to the Winooski River, the Ethan Allen homestead, and the Intervale area. Still nothing. No tracks, no belongings, no trace. At first, Joseph's daughter believed it was only a matter of time before her father would be found. But as days turned into weeks with no progress, that hope began to fade. The family now fears that he may have been more seriously injured in the crash than anyone realized, possibly disoriented or unable to call for help. Joseph is described as someone who's always been responsible and family-oriented, making his disappearance all the more baffling. It's entirely out of character for him to flee an accident, let alone cut off all communication. When he was last seen, Joseph was wearing a gray and black checkered coat, a camouflage hat, blue jeans, and work boots. The cause of the accident remains undisclosed, and the investigation is still ongoing. If you or anyone you know has seen Joseph Gagnon or has any information about his whereabouts, please contact the Burlington Police Department at 802-658-2704. It's always frightening when someone simply vanishes, but when a devoted mother disappears into the night, leaving her children behind, it becomes a haunting mystery no one can make sense of. This is the case of 43-year-old Joynell Brandon, a loving mother of 3 from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. A woman whose life seemed perfectly ordinary until May of 2025, when she was last seen alive. It was the night of May 13th. Joynell was dropped off at a family friend's house around 9 p.m. The plan was simple: play some cards, share a few laughs, unwind. The evening went just as expected. Nothing strange, nothing out of place. But what happened after she left that home has become one of the most chilling, unsolved mysteries in Pine Bluff. Her friend later told investigators that when the night wrapped up, Joynell was picked up by a man he didn't recognize. He described the vehicle, a white box truck, and remembered seeing her get in around 10 p.m. near Universal Avenue. He didn't think much of it at the time, but that moment, that one simple ride, would be the last time anyone ever saw Joynell Brandon. A few hours later, at 1:56 a.m., Joynell's family received a text message. It said she was home and that they should open the door. They did, but Joynell wasn't there. No one was. Her family told police that text didn't sound like her at all. Joynell was known for texting incomplete sentences, but this message felt off, too proper, too unlike her. And the man who supposedly dropped her off didn't leave her at the front door. Instead, he let her out around the corner, just a short walk away. Since that early morning, she's never been seen or heard from again. What makes this case even more alarming is that Joynell suffers from a mental health condition that requires daily medication. She didn't have it with her. Without it, her loved ones fear she may have been confused, vulnerable, or in distress. As police started digging deeper, more unsettling questions began to surface. Who was the man driving that white box truck? Where did they go after leaving her friend's house? And why hasn't he come forward to clear his name, especially now that her disappearance has spread across the community? Joynell's family says she'd never disappear by choice. She adored her kids, her world revolved around them. She was the kind of person who always stayed in touch, who never missed a call, who checked in with her family every single day. So when those calls stopped, when her phone went silent, they knew immediately something was very wrong. Her loved ones have been searching for answers ever since. The uncertainty, the sleepless nights, the fear, it's all taken a devastating toll. As of now, investigators haven't confirmed foul play, and they haven't released details about any leads or suspects. But the longer this case goes unsolved, the darker the questions become. Where is Joynell Brandon? What really happened that night after she got into that white truck? And who sent that final text? The one that led her family to open the door to nothing. Police have made it clear, the family friend she visited that night is not a suspect. Her family stands by him completely. They've known him for years and insist he'd never harm her. But someone out there knows something. Maybe you saw that white truck. Maybe you saw a woman walking alone that night near Universal Avenue. Or maybe you just remember something small, something you didn't think mattered. If you have any information about the disappearance of Joynell Brandon, you're urged to contact the Pine Bluff Police Department's detective tip line at 870-730-2106. It began as an ordinary September evening, a simple phone call between a father and his daughter. But by the next day, Amber Wilde would vanish without a trace, leaving behind only questions, theories, and a trail of unsettling clues that have haunted Wisconsin for more than 2 decades. Amber was just 19 years old, smart, driven, and full of promise. Born in Campbellport, Wisconsin, she was the kind of person who made things happen. After earning her associate's degree in only a year, she transferred to the University of Wisconsin-Green Bay in September of 1998. She'd been there less than a month when she disappeared. Amber dreamed of becoming a pediatrician. She had a scholarship, a bright future, and a baby on the way. 4.5 months pregnant, she was excited about motherhood. Her aunt had even offered to help care for the baby so Amber could continue pursuing her studies. But on the night of September 23, 1998, everything changed. That evening, Amber called her father, Steve Wilde. She told him she'd been in a minor car accident. She had rear-ended another vehicle and bumped her head on the windshield. It wasn't serious, just a mild headache, but doctors thought she might have a concussion. Her dad told her to rest and check in later. They spoke again that night. It was a normal conversation, warm, loving, neither knowing it would be the last time they'd ever speak. The next day, Amber didn't answer her phone. She missed a class and an eye doctor appointment, something completely out of character for her. Her father called again and again. Nothing. That gut feeling told him something was wrong. Steve drove more than an hour to Green Bay to check on her. Her apartment was locked. Her car was gone. And his daughter nowhere to be found. A week later, her gray 1988 Subaru GL was discovered in the parking lot of a sports bar and motel near Lombardy Access Road. not far from Lambeau Field. At first glance, it looked like a simple abandoned car. But inside, the details told a much darker story. Her purse and cell phone were locked neatly in the trunk, just where she always kept them. The keys were still in the ignition, but the driver's seat, it had been pushed way back, much too far for someone of Amber's height. And then came another chilling discovery. Her car had been driven nearly 600 miles since the last time it was serviced. Someone had been driving it, somewhere. Investigators quickly realized the car hadn't been sitting in that lot for the entire week she was missing. Someone had parked it there later, intentionally. Then, in 2016, almost 2 decades after her disappearance, sealed court documents were finally made public. Inside, they revealed disturbing new information straight from Amber's own diary. She had been seeing a man named Matthew John Schneider, the man believed to be the father of her unborn child. According to her diary, Amber met Matthew earlier that year at a party. He was engaged to another woman at the time. When Amber told him she was pregnant, he reacted with anger, even denial. He demanded she end the pregnancy. She refused. Weeks before she vanished, Amber told Matthew's fiancé and his mother about the baby. That revelation enraged him. Her diary entries from those final weeks describe growing fear. She wrote that Matthew had become erratic, desperate, and threatening. He told her she'd never see the baby if she didn't do what he wanted. And then Amber disappeared. When questioned, Matthew told police he barely knew her. He claimed they'd only spoken a few times. But phone records exposed the lie. They'd been in constant contact for months, right up until the night she went missing. Matthew refused to take a polygraph test. He never once reached out to Amber after her disappearance. And when friends told investigators he'd confessed to feeling guilty about what happened between them, the pieces started to fall into place, but never completely. Detectives believe Amber may have met with foul play shortly after that last phone call to her father. One theory suggests she's buried somewhere near Highway 29, which was under construction at the time, the same area where Matthew worked as a highway laborer. Search teams have scoured those grounds countless times, even digging up sections of the road, but they've never found a trace of Amber or her unborn child. Her bank accounts, credit cards, and social security number have never been used since the day she vanished. It's as if Amber Wilde simply disappeared from existence. More than 25 years later, her family still holds on to hope. Hope that someone, somewhere, knows the truth. Amber would be 46 years old today. Her father still waits for answers. Her loved ones still search, and her diary, filled with her words, her dreams, and her fears, remains the most haunting voice in this case. Because the mystery of Amber Wilde isn't just about a disappearance. It's about a young woman who refused to give up her future or her child, and the chilling silence that followed her final words. If you have any information about the disappearance of Amber Wilde, contact the Green Bay Police Department. Even the smallest detail could finally bring this family the answers they've been waiting for. Jennifer Louise Bell had always been a fighter. Her life hadn't been easy. She'd stumbled, she'd struggled. But by 2023, the 36-year-old mother of 3 was finally getting back on her feet. Her kids were her reason for everything, the anchor that kept her steady. Friends said she was focused, full of determination, and ready to start over. But in the summer of 2023, that comeback story ended in silence. Because Jennifer Bell didn't just go missing. She vanished into thin air. It was sometime in July when Jennifer was seen waiting at a Shell gas station on Dickerson Pike in Nashville. She'd called her mother to meet her there. She needed money for gas. The SUV she was driving wasn't hers. It belonged to her on-again, off-again boyfriend, Jacob McCord. Her mother arrived, handed over the money, and watched Jennifer drive away. No one realized that would be the last confirmed sighting of her alive. At first, the family wasn't alarmed. Jennifer had gone off the radar before, living a complicated life that sometimes meant disappearing for a few days. But then came a phone call, one that changed everything. Near the end of July, McCord called Jennifer's family from Lee County, Alabama, with a story that didn't make sense. He claimed he'd woken up to find Jennifer gone, along with his phone, his wallet, and his SUV. He said she'd stolen everything and vanished into the night. Only days later, the vehicle was found abandoned in a rural area off Lee Road 179, and the sight of it sent chills through everyone who saw it. The passenger window was smashed out. The driver's side mirror was missing. There was no sign of Jennifer. At first, police involvement was minimal. Because of Jennifer's lifestyle and past disappearances, the case didn't raise alarms. But by February 2, 2024, her family had seen enough red flags. That's when she was officially reported missing to the Nashville Police Department 7 months after she'd last been seen. And when investigators finally dug into her disappearance, what they found was troubling. Jennifer's cousin, Carla Sullivan, came forward with new information. She said that in July 2023, around the time Jennifer disappeared, the two of them had driven together to meet McCord. Jennifer had been staying with Carla after a fight with him days earlier. But on that day, she said they'd made up. Jennifer got into his black SUV, waved goodbye, and drove off with him. That was the last time Carla saw her cousin. Days later, that same SUV, the one McCord claimed Jennifer had stolen, turned up abandoned in Alabama. Then came a disturbing witness statement. Someone reported seeing McCord camping alone near Mill Creek, washing clothes in the water. He told others he'd been in Lee County with Jennifer. But now, she and the vehicle were both gone. McCord quickly became a person of interest in Jennifer's disappearance. But when investigators questioned him, he offered little help. His story shifted, his cooperation evaporated, and suspicion only grew stronger. By April 2024, McCord was arrested on unrelated charges, caught in a stolen truck after running from Nashville police. Even behind bars, he's refused to say anything meaningful about what happened to Jennifer. Now, in 2025, more than a year after she vanished, Jennifer Louise Bell remains missing. Her family has never stopped searching, never stopped asking what really happened in that window of time between that gas station meeting and the discovery of the SUV. Did something go wrong between her and McCord that night? Did she leave on her own? Or was she silenced before she had the chance? There are more questions than answers. But one thing is certain, someone knows the truth. If you have any information about the disappearance of Jennifer Bell, contact Nashville Crime Stoppers at 615-742-7463. The disappearance of Erin Marie Gilbert. Not everyone who gets lost is ever found. And for 24-year-old Erin, that haunting truth became her reality on the night of July 1, 1995. Erin was young, ambitious, and full of life. She stood 5'5", weighed around 145 pounds, with warm brown hair and hazel eyes. To those who knew her, she was thoughtful and kind, a woman with her whole life ahead of her. But one summer evening in Girdwood, Alaska, that life would vanish into the dark, leaving behind one of the state's most unsettling mysteries. Erin had grown up in San Francisco, living with her father before moving north to Alaska to stay with her sister, Stephanie, and her husband. She'd been living with them for about a year by the time she disappeared, helping with their kids and trying to start fresh. That July evening, Erin was heading out on a first date. The man's name was David Combs, someone she'd met just a few nights earlier at a local bar. When David arrived to pick her up, Stephanie noticed something odd. He was wearing sunglasses at night. A small detail, maybe, but one that would stick in her mind forever. Before Erin left, Stephanie's 4-year-old son tugged on her hand and told her, "Aunt Erin, you should take a cell phone." Erin just smiled and said she'd be fine. Those would be the last words her family ever heard from her. The couple drove an hour south to the Girdwood Forest Fair, a lively summer festival filled with food, music, and laughter. Witnesses later confirmed seeing them at the fair's beer garden, chatting and drinking together until around 6 p.m. But after that, Erin's story becomes a tangle of questions and one man's version of events. David told police that when they returned to his car, it wouldn't start. So, he claimed he left Erin with the vehicle while he walked off to find help, a friend's house somewhere nearby. He said he walked for 2 hours through the woods, but never found the house. When he came back, Erin was gone. According to David, He assumed she'd walked back to the fair on her own. He started the car, which suddenly worked, and began driving around, looking for her. He claimed he searched until about 1 a.m., but found no trace. Then, instead of calling her family or the police, he waited until 7 the next morning before phoning Stephanie. When Stephanie got the call, panic immediately set in. She rushed to check Erin's room, but her bed was empty, untouched. There was no sign she'd ever made it home. Stephanie contacted authorities, and the search began. Police combed the fairgrounds, surrounding trails and wooded areas. Volunteers joined in. Helicopters circled overhead. But no one, not a single witness, saw Erin after she left the beer garden with David. No purse, no footprints, no evidence. It was as though Erin Marie Gilbert had simply vanished into thin air. When questioned again, David's story never changed. But investigators and Erin's family have never been convinced. There were too many red flags, too many unanswered questions. Why did he leave her alone with a broken-down car, in the middle of the forest? Why wait nearly 8 hours before calling for help? And why did the car suddenly start working when he came back? Even stranger, he led police back to the area where he claimed to have parked, but he couldn't remember the exact spot. The car was never located there, and no one else had seen it that night. Decades have passed since that summer evening in 1995. The forest where Erin vanished has changed, but her family's pain has not. Each year, they return to Girdwood, leaving flowers and hoping that maybe, just maybe, someone will finally speak up. Erin's sister once said, "We don't believe she's alive anymore, but we still need to know what happened. We just want to bring her home." To this day, no new evidence has surfaced. No remains have been found, and no one has ever been charged in connection with her disappearance. It's been almost 30 years since Erin walked into those woods. And while time may have faded the headlines, her story still lingers. A quiet echo of the danger that can hide behind a single, ordinary night. Because somewhere in the shadows of Alaska's wilderness, someone knows what happened to Erin Marie Gilbert. If you have any information about her disappearance, please contact the Anchorage Police Department or the Alaska State Troopers. Until the truth is found, Erin's story remains one of Alaska's coldest and most haunting mysteries. The disappearance and tragic discovery of Thelma Cruel remains one of the most unsettling unsolved cases in recent Canadian memory. Thelma was a 57-year-old grandmother from Winnipeg. She went missing on the morning of July 11, 2015, during what began as a routine walk. She had left her home in the Grassy Boulevard area around 7:23 a.m. as part of her preparation for an upcoming hike on British Columbia's West Coast Trail. What was supposed to be a peaceful day quickly became the beginning of a mystery that continues to haunt many. Following her disappearance, an extensive search unfolded. Investigators determined that Thelma had reached Civic Park, near Kildonan East Collegiate, by approximately 8 a.m. Evidence pointed to an altercation occurring at that location, after which Thelma was believed to have been taken against her will. Authorities speculated she was moved into a nearby building, residence, or possibly a vehicle. Though numerous leads surfaced, no solid answers emerged for years. 1 year later, in 2016, police shared a potential breakthrough when they received a tip of a possible sighting near a gas station at Kimberly Avenue and Gateway Road. A woman believed to be Thelma was seen in distress, accompanied by a man described as having a stocky build and a buzz hairstyle. A sketch of this individual was released to the public, and he remains a person of interest to this day. Authorities believe the man may have had connections to the Valley Gardens area, either through residence, employment, or regular visits. Despite public appeals and the high-profile nature of the case, years passed with no sign of Thelma Cruel. Then, in October 2018, a hunter made a grim discovery in a wooded area in the rural municipality of Tatch, southeast of Winnipeg. DNA tests confirmed that the remains found near Shamatawa Road belonged to Thelma. The location was approximately 50 kilometers from where she was last seen. The discovery raised further questions. Investigators suggested the area might be known to the person responsible, perhaps used as a deliberate disposal site due to its remote and desolate surroundings. Winnipeg Police Service Sergeant Wes Ramel stated that, although he could not reveal how Thelma's life came to an end, there was no indication she knew her assailant. The remote nature of the area where she was found hinted that her disappearance was not random. Law enforcement emphasized the importance of the public focusing on this specific location, suggesting that the person responsible was likely familiar with that stretch of land. The discovery of Thelma's remains, while providing some closure to her family and friends, reopened wounds and reignited calls for justice. Her husband, Robert Cruel, expressed gratitude for the support but requested privacy as the family processed the heartbreaking confirmation. Her friend and former co-worker, Susan Dell, voiced a sentiment shared by many, stating that although finding Thelma offered some answers, it also reintroduced grief and uncertainty. As the investigation continued, authorities encouraged those living in both the Valley Gardens area and the rural site where Thelma was found to come forward with any memories or suspicions from the summer of 2015. Although the case has since gone quiet, law enforcement remains committed to uncovering the truth. Thelma Cruel's story is a reminder of how one ordinary morning can change everything. Her disappearance and the mystery surrounding her final moments continue to raise questions that remain unanswered for her family, friends, and the broader community. Hope persists that one day, someone will come forward with the information needed to bring resolution and justice to this deeply troubling case. The disappearance of Logan Schneidelman. Logan Schneidelman was a bright and talented young man whose mysterious disappearance has left family, friends, and investigators searching for answers. Known for his kind heart, poetic soul, and sense of humor, Logan was well-liked by his peers and loved by those closest to him. A former football standout at Tumwater High School, Logan graduated in 2015 and briefly attended Washington State University before deciding to leave school and return home to live with his grandmother and half-sister. He worked a series of jobs and was, by most accounts, still searching for his path in life. Born on June 27, 1996, Logan was of mixed heritage. His mother was biracial and his father, whom he never met, was of Saudi Arabian descent and lived overseas. Logan's mother, Hannah, remained part of his life, but it was his grandmother, Ginny, who was given legal guardianship so Hannah could attend art school in Olympia, Washington. As Logan reached the end of high school, he began struggling with a sense of identity. Those close to him reported that a classmate's inappropriate comment deeply affected him and led him to withdraw from some of his social circles, leaving him feeling increasingly isolated. The last confirmed sighting of Logan was on the morning of May 19, 2016. He and Ginny briefly spoke before she left for her job at the Washington State Department of Ecology. Logan told her he had experienced an epiphany, something that seemed important to him, but the details were never shared, as Ginny asked if they could continue the conversation later that evening. Unfortunately, that conversation never happened. When she returned home, Logan was gone. That night, Logan's phone pinged in the area near his mother's home. Ginny, assuming he had gone to visit Hannah, was not initially alarmed. However, Logan had not gone to see his mother, and he never returned home. The following day, when Logan was still missing, concern began to grow. Unbeknownst to his family, Logan's black 1996 Chrysler Sebring convertible had already been discovered the day prior, on May 20th, abandoned on the shoulder of Interstate 5, near mile marker 92. Multiple 911 calls had been made about the car drifting across lanes. Witnesses reported seeing a man matching Logan's description jumping out of the moving vehicle and running toward the nearby woods. By the time law enforcement arrived, the driver had vanished. Days later, when Ginny went to the Thurston County Sheriff's Office to report Logan missing, she learned that the vehicle had already been impounded. She retrieved the car and searched it herself, unaware that she might be disturbing potential forensic evidence. Inside the vehicle were Logan's belongings: video games, football gear, clothing, snacks, and approximately $20 in cash. His wallet, ID, and cell phone were still in the car, as well as his EpiPen, something he typically carried due to a nut allergy. Over time, questions surrounding Logan's disappearance deepened. In 2017, a woman came forward with new information. She claimed to have seen two men near Logan's abandoned car on Interstate 5 around the time of the incident. A sketch of one of the men was released to the public, but the identity of either individual remains unknown. Investigators have never confirmed whether these men had any connection to Logan or whether the tip was reliable. Theories about Logan's disappearance vary. Some believe he may have had a psychological break or was grappling with deeper personal struggles. Others suggest the possibility of foul play, especially given the strange circumstances surrounding the car, the presence of other individuals, and the lack of concrete evidence. The idea that Logan simply chose to walk away from his life is difficult for his loved ones to accept, especially considering he left behind items he valued, including his phone and ID. Logan was 19 years old when he disappeared. He stood approximately 6 feet tall, weighed between 170 and 190 pounds, and had brown eyes with black hair, usually kept closely shaved. At the time he was last seen, he was believed to be wearing a black windbreaker, jeans, a white shirt, and possibly Nike sneakers. He also had a small scar on his left forearm, just below the elbow. As of now, Logan's case remains open but unsolved. Despite widespread media attention and appeals from his family, no verified sightings or new developments have surfaced. His loved ones continue to hold out hope that one day, they will learn the truth about what happened on that spring day in 2016. The disappearance of Danielle Imbo and Richard Petrone Jr. It was the evening of February 19, 2005. Two friends, 34-year-old Danielle Imbo and 35-year-old Richard Petrone Jr., decided at the last minute to spend the night out together. They had dated once before but hadn't seen each other in quite some time. Life had thrown them both some challenges recently, and this night was meant to be nothing more than a friendly catch-up. They met up with friends at a popular bar on South Street in Philadelphia. The mood was light, the music was good, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Shortly before midnight, Richard and Danielle left together in Richard's black Dodge Dakota. That moment would be the last confirmed sighting of either of them. The next day, alarm bells began to ring. Danielle missed a hair appointment, and calls to both her and Richard's phones went straight to voicemail. Her brother, John, let himself into her home with a spare key. Everything inside looked perfectly normal. No signs of a struggle, no indication that she had suddenly left. By mid-afternoon, it was clear something was wrong. Danielle hadn't returned home to pick up her young son, Joe Jr., from his father. For both Danielle and Richard, disappearing without a word was completely out of character. That's when the families contacted the police. The search began almost immediately. That night, John and Richard's father drove through the streets between Philadelphia and Mount Laurel, checking highways, side streets, and even waterways. They scanned the major bridges, hoping to spot Richard's truck. Nothing. By the next day, friends and volunteers joined in. They searched within a 100-mile radius, handed out flyers with pictures of Richard's truck, and even hired a helicopter to scan from above. But despite all the effort, there was no trace, not of the couple, not of the vehicle. Over the months and years that followed, investigators explored every possible lead. Eventually, the FBI suggested that this could have been a targeted act, something planned in advance. But with no physical evidence, the case stalled. For those who knew them, Danielle was remembered as a warm, outgoing woman who loved music, books, and, above all, her young son. Richard was easygoing, a devoted father to his teenage daughter, and someone who worked hard at his family's bakery. They had both been through difficult times, and their night out had seemed like a simple return to good company and familiar faces. Instead, it became the start of one of the most baffling unsolved cases in the region. To this day, their families live with unanswered questions and the heavy weight of not knowing. They hold on to hope that, one day, someone will come forward with a piece of information that brings closure to a night that began with music and laughter, but ended in silence. A woman who disappeared without a trace. No goodbye, no clues, just gone. This is the case of Heidi Plank, a loving mom, a loyal friend, a hardworking professional who vanished in the middle of her normal day. And to this day, nobody knows what happened. Heidi Plank was 39 years old and lived in Los Angeles. She was a devoted single mother to her 10-year-old son and worked as a controller at a financial firm. Her friends described her as sharp, responsible, and always on time, especially when it came to her son. That's why, when she didn't pick him up from school on October 20th, 2021, it wasn't just strange, it was terrifying. Something was very wrong. Heidi's ex-husband, Jim Wayne, shared custody of their son. In the days leading up to her disappearance, both he and their son tried texting and calling her, but there was no response. At first, Jim thought it might be a simple misunderstanding. Maybe she was busy, but missing school pickup, that had never happened before. That was the moment alarm bells went off. Just a few days earlier, on Sunday, October 17th, Heidi had gone to her son's football game in Downey, California. Jim said she seemed a little off that day, like something was on her mind. Later that same evening, around 6:30 p.m., surveillance cameras captured her walking her dog, Seven, near Hope and Flower Streets in downtown LA. Just 30 minutes later, Seven was found alone inside a high-end apartment building nearby. That might seem small, but Heidi never left her dog behind. Seven was like family to her. The fact that he was alone inside a strange building made people think something had interrupted her night. On October 20th, when Heidi missed school pickup, Jim filed a missing persons report with the LAPD. Detectives started investigating right away, but what they found was odd. Her phone, laptop, and smartwatch all had location tracking turned off. The GPS in her car was also disabled. It was like someone didn't want her to be found. Using the microchip in Heidi's dog, Seven, investigators traced him back to the Hope plus Flower apartment building. A resident had found Seven wandering the hallways that night. Security cameras showed Heidi going into the building, but there was no footage of her ever leaving. So what happened inside? Police believe she may have gone there for a private party, and that something during or after that party may have gone very wrong. Weeks into the investigation, detectives focused on a terrifying theory. What if something had happened to Heidi inside that building, and someone tried to hide it? They launched a massive search at the Chiquita Canyon landfill, because that's where trash from the apartment building was taken. For weeks, teams searched through piles of garbage, looking for even the smallest clue, but they found nothing. No phone, no clothes, no sign of Heidi. Then came another twist: Heidi's job. She worked for a company called Camden Capital Partners. Around the time of her disappearance, her boss, Jason Sugarman, was under investigation by the SEC. He was accused of stealing millions from a Native American tribe's pension fund. Now, there's no direct proof linking this to Heidi's disappearance, but it made people wonder. Did she know something? Was she a target? As of today, Heidi Plank is still missing. Her friends and family are heartbroken. Her son is left without answers, and investigators are left with a list of disturbing clues: the missing GPS, the dog found alone, the building she entered but never exited, and a possible link to a white-collar crime that was much bigger than anyone realized. This case has more questions than answers. Was it personal? Was it professional? Or something else entirely? The truth is, we don't know. But what we do know is that Heidi Plank deserves justice, and her family deserves answers. A 36-year-old man disappears without a trace, leaving his family desperate for answers. Lee Horton, a 36-year-old man from Worcester, England, has been missing since March 12, 2025. His family is growing increasingly concerned, making urgent appeals to the public, fearing that something terrible may have happened to him. The last time they heard from Lee was on February 11th, just one day before he disappeared. He had called them, saying he was in Bristol, a city he often visited. Lee loved traveling the country, seeing new places and meeting new people. But this time, something was different. When his family couldn't reach him the next day, they immediately contacted police, because this wasn't like him. Lee had made one thing clear during that last phone call. He told them exactly where he was. He said he'd be back home later that day. He was planning to catch a train soon, but he never came home. Investigators uncovered a troubling detail. On February 11th, Lee tried to book accommodation in Bristol, but he didn't have enough money. Desperate, he went to a bank in Clifton, possibly to withdraw funds. But what happened next is a mystery. Then came the first real lead. CCTV footage captured Lee walking along Upper Lynn Street at 10:45 a.m. on March 11th. Just 15 minutes later, another camera spotted him on Queens Road at 11 a.m. In both videos, he appeared normal. He wasn't rushing. He wasn't looking over his shoulder. He simply vanished. In the footage, Lee is seen wearing a dark gray zip-up jacket, a white shirt, blue jeans, and dark-colored shoes. He had a neatly trimmed beard and mustache, short brown hair, and carried a backpack. His expression was stern, but otherwise nothing seemed unusual. So where did he go? Lee stands 5 feet 11 inches tall and has a distinctive birthmark on his right arm. Now, his family is pleading for help. Police are asking the public to check their CCTV or dashcam footage. Anyone who might have seen Lee or spoken to him. If you have any information, no matter how small, you're urged to call 999, quoting case reference 522-507-3912. Because right now, Lee Horton is still missing. In rural South Carolina, surrounded by dense woods and quiet plantation land, a haunting mystery has lingered for decades. A mother and daughter who vanished 1 year apart, leaving nothing behind but questions and a chilling note. This is the story of Corina and Annette Malinowski. Life had never been easy for Corina. She lost her mother young, rarely saw her father, and grew up raising herself and her brother Leon, long before she was ready. But despite a childhood filled with hardship, those who knew her remember a gentle soul, a young woman who loved children, who sacrificed for others, who always tried to do the right thing. At just 16, she became a mother herself. She never revealed who fathered her daughter, Annette, and raised the little girl alone. For years later, she met Stephen Malinowski, a former serviceman working with a traveling carnival. They married in 1981 and moved to a plantation property in Berkeley County. Soon, 2 baby boys followed. From the outside, a growing family. But inside that home, things were breaking. Stephen's drinking escalated. Rumors spread of substance abuse. Arguments echoed through the house. And Corina quietly endured bruises and broken promises, choosing to stay, even as her brother pleaded with her to get out. November 21st, 1987. After another explosive argument over Stephen's drinking, he claimed Corina walked out around 11 p.m. for a drive to clear her head. She never came home. Her boss found her locked car the next morning at the plantation gate, dew still on the windows, untouched. Corina was nowhere nearby. No struggle, no witnesses, just emptiness. A search turned up nothing. Stephen's polygraph? Inconclusive, and the case went cold. Almost a year later, the mystery deepened. October 4th, 1988, 7 a.m. A bus driver spotted 11-year-old Annette Malinowski standing on Highway 32, her dog beside her, as if waiting for the bus. Normal, ordinary, unremarkable. When the bus drove past again, she was gone. Hours passed before Stephen even realized she was missing. By 4 p.m., he found a handwritten note. Teresa is back. Take care of the boys. Teresa, Corina's real first name. Did Annette believe her mother had returned? Or was someone else behind those words? No one saw her again. No trace of her dog. No belongings missing, no sign of any plan. Just vanished. In the year between their disappearances, there were no warnings, no sightings, no calls. And then, one day, a daughter goes missing too, as if swallowed by the same black hole that took her mother. Had they run away together? Were they hiding somewhere, alive? Or did something terrible happen to both? A tragedy buried in those South Carolina woods? In 2000, an anonymous letter arrived. It claimed both were dead, buried in Sumter County, and even included a map. Search teams combed the area. Nothing. No remains. No evidence. Just silence. And so today, Corina and Annette Malinowski exist only as ghosts in the memory of a small southern county. A young mother who tried her best, and a little girl who disappeared holding her dog and a secret no one ever uncovered. Did they start a new life, escaping a troubled home? Or did two people who already suffered so much meet a darker fate? Until answers surface, one question remains suspended in time. Where did Corina and Annette go? And why has no trace ever surfaced? Sometimes the most haunting disappearances are not the ones filled with violence, but the ones where a family simply fades out of the world, leaving only whispers behind.